Right, so guys, welcome again for another session hosted by your one and only Christian Taylor and myself, James Lennon. So today we're gonna be it's more of a speaking event. We're not gonna be getting a sweat on and making you guys work your butts off in your houses, which I'm happy to say the least about. Um, so the main topic for today is going to be about resilience. So me and Christian are both gonna kind of give you some insights into how we started athletics, how we fell in love with the sport, the highs and lows, the challenges that we faced, and how we've managed to come overcome them and get through them and get to where we got to. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Christian first. First and foremost, I'll say he is my friend. He's one of my best friends. But I'm always in awe of his achievements. If you don't know already, he's a double Olympic champion or triple Olympic champion, double, two-time Olympic champion. I think three or four-time world champion. So I always give him his props. Um, but yeah, Christian, how did you start athletics? How did you get into it?
Yeah, thanks, James. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, every Life Plus family. It's always a pleasure when we can be reunited, have the opportunity to get back together. As James highlighted, today it's going to be about resilience, overcoming obstacles, something I believe we can all relate to. And before we dive too deep, just a little recap of the connection James and I have. We met in 2013 when I had the pleasure to move to East Midlands to Loughborough University to train with British Athletics. And James and I connected, I think, from the jump. It was really unique because we discovered that we actually had some deep rooted connection from family that lived really in the same area. We had really a lot of the common interests, whether it's health, healthy living, long term planning. I mean, we were dreamers. We aspire for big things, and yeah, we just connected. Let's say on a deeper level, and so just having the opportunity to grow with James, to grow with the Life Coach family, it's been an honor and a privilege to go through the highs and lows, and now to be able to share the story with you all. How I got into athletics, basically, I think there's a lot of Europeans that are in the chat are with us today, and so I came up in a Barbados household. So soccer, football is king. We have soccer, cricket, my passion. I always wanted to play in the World Cup. I aspired to be a very good football player. Unfortunately, as you see, I never got the size. And so, I wanted to be a soccer player. I wanted to really, yeah, just be the best in the world. And my agility. I was just getting taken out left and right in different tackles, and then I just said, you know what, let me try something different. Went to basketball because of my height, but in the U.S., I'm at 190. I'm, let's say, vertically challenged when it comes to basketball standards, and so I wasn't tall enough for basketball, and really just through trial and error discovered athletics, discovered track and field, and then when I got into the sprints. I didn't have the fast twitch like James Ellington. I didn't have this makeup, and so I ended up going to the sandbox and learning how to jump, and really my passion for the jumps took off from there. So that's a little recap of my life in general. But James, what about you? How did you get to athletics?
So the way I started athletics was I was 3 years old and I remember watching the 1988 Seoul Olympics. If any of you guys old enough here, you remember there was a guy called Ben Johnson, but we also had a British guy called Linford Christie, and he was one of our great British runners. And from the day that I saw these guys running on TV, I decided that's what I wanted to do. So from a kid, from 3 years old onwards, all I wanted to do was be a sprinter. I never knew if I was going to have the ability to be able to run fast, but somehow God's plan, it worked out. And, going through school, I was always fast, one of the fast kids. And I looked forward to sports day every year. That was a highlight. So for me, that's kind of where it started. It was my dreams as a kid was to either be in the Olympics or go and live in the rainforest. And I managed to go to two Olympics and I kind of have the choice of living in the rainforest, but it just doesn't seem reasonable now to live in a rainforest. So I kind of that's how I got into it. It was watching other people compete on TV and dreaming. And along the way, I competed in different sports, rugby. I played a little bit of tennis when I was a kid. Um, but yeah, my love was always athletics. Um, and it's a very, very tough sport also as well because you're on your own, right? If you mess up, you mess up. But at the same time, if you win, you get the full feeling of achieving something. You know you put the hard work in yourself. So yeah, with that being said, there's been many highs and lows throughout both mine and Christian's career, and I'm sure you guys probably would want to hear a little bit about kind of, I'd guess probably maybe our toughest times, along with the best times that we had. Um, so I'd start by saying my best time in this sport was breaking through to my first British team in 2011, 2010, 2011. And when you've been working for many years, 15, 16, 17 years to make a British team and then you finally make it, um, all the hard work, you just feel fulfilled because again, everything starts off as a dream, and you can work on something for years and years, and it never comes to fruition. And then if it finally does, you kind of you feel you can't describe the feeling, especially when you've had people along the journey that have told you to either give up or stop or do a different career or have a plan B. So for me, kind of that was the biggest high. Um, Christian, what about yourself? I mean, you've got many highs. You're Olympic champion. So what would you say your biggest high was?
I mean, I can do the cliche. So I met my wife through the sport. So obviously that was, for any of the lovers and the soft people in the chat, meeting my wife was very special. Something obviously not planning. Um, when you're in that sport mindset, you're not thinking about the personal stuff. You're thinking about towards your goals, and so that was very special to come out with a life partner. But I would say when it comes to the actual sport, as you said, you just put in literally the cliche blood, sweat, and tears, right? Into your dreams, into this vision. Um, Seed that's planted. I mean, everyone talks and sees world championships, or maybe not even the Olympic Games, every 4 years, and they think about that moment. They talk about this moment and what it took to get there. But the reality is, to reach to reach the Olympic Games, it's a lifetime of work, right? It's not 4 years. It's not 8 years. It's really. I mean, James, I can tell you, we talked about 12, 15 years, right? So it takes a lifetime to get to this one moment, and you have to make sure that everything is in alignment for that one moment because you have to qualify for the games. You have to once you get to the games and you make your team, you have to qualify in the rounds, and you have to make sure to control all the things you can, to try to be on top of everything. But then there's also the uncontrollables, and to be prepared for all the what ifs. I say all that to say the Olympic titles were great, the world championship titles were great, but honestly, making that first Olympic team, um, uh, I mean, I get butterflies thinking about it now because that was just something that, when you talk about the poster on the wall, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So in 1996, we had the Summer Games, and I grew up in Olympic City. I grew up with this Olympic spirit and the rings. We had Centennial Olympic Park, by my school, and it was just like when I knew soccer was not going to be my avenue. It was like, okay, what Olympic sport was going to be my thing, and how could I be an Olympian? I just wanted to be an Olympian so bad. That was driving and burning through me. I felt like day in day out. I saw the torch downtown, and I just aspired to be an Olympian. That I wanted to have those rings. And I just believe that when I for me, I had six jumps on the Olympic trials, and when I made my sixth jump, and the announcer announced the three individuals that would be representing your country. At that time in London, 2012 was my first games. When they said, myself and my two teammates would be representing our country, um, biggest competition of our life. That was just a moment that I'll never forget. Because you just felt like every sacrifice was for this moment, and I think outside of sports, for me, the bridge I always want to connect to is we talk about the lifetime commitment for us, or let's say a long term commitment. We're planning 10, 15 years for something that you have no guarantee that you're going to get to, but you really just on a hope and a prayer and in a dream, and if you're motivated enough, if that fire is burning strong enough, there will be the haters and the naysayers and those that will doubt what you can accomplish, maybe because somebody else hasn't accomplished it before you, or somebody in your circle has not reached that. But I just want you to know that the two of us on here, James and myself, are two people that are living testaments of again overcoming resilience, but also just this uncommitted, relentless commitment to a goal. Um, it's something that we got to share together. Going to the Olympics and just ultimately reaching your dreams. It's something really special, and I think you could just carry that with you for the rest of your life. Outside
Yeah,
of this, yeah, I would like to transition to you, because of course we talk about the highs, but of course, you know, there's two sides of the rainbow, and you have the pot of gold, but you also have the other side where you are seeking to get to that end place, and sometimes the road it could be a bit bumpy, and so James, are there any, let's say, lows that maybe you experience along the way, or some things that could have sidetracked you um, from reaching these goals?
yeah. So I think as Christian just explained there, it takes a lot of sacrifice and dedication to even make an Olympic team, let alone compete and get a medal at the Olympics as you're competing against the best of the best. Um, with that being said, I think any champion or anybody that makes it to that kind of level in sport, they have to have some sort of grit or resilience about their character. And I know everybody these days we talk about these terms very freely. You get so many people these days talk about adversity, resilience, blah blah blah. A few years back the buzzword was mental health, and I see on social media a lot. There's a lot of people. Think about me if you haven't gathered this already. Within my sport, I was always a bit outspoken. I never kind of played by the game because to me, I wasn't there for a game. I was there to compete. Um, But it's hard these days because you see a lot of people on, especially online, social media, everybody loves to throw these words out. Resilience, adversity, blah, 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 blah. And they haven't really been through that much. Not some of them have, but not all of them have. And there's people making money off these words. Um, I find some of the most resilient and kind of tough and true gritted people that I've met out there, they don't shout to the high heavens about what they've been through or what they've achieved. They're doers. With that being said, I'm about to tell you a story about my my resilience, but that's because it's the subject, right? It's a subject matter. But my story getting to even the Olympics in the first place, I've always had, as you guys probably have without your lives as well, through your careers and your work and whatever you're doing, many walls and hurdles placed in front of you. Um, so for me, even just getting to the Olympics, I'd already gone through 1,000 walls already. I'd had people, negative people around in the area that I grew up telling me not to do athletics. I even had, sounds bad, but people in my family steering me away from athletics. Um, so I've had all this stuff. Let me just shut my window one second. There's people making noise. Sorry about that, guys. So as I was saying, I've had loads of people throughout my life trying to steer me away from athletics. So it kind of prepared me for the further hurdles down the line. Um, what I would say is the first hurdle in 2010, I'd already made my European team championships team. So I'd made the team. I was in greatest shape, pulled my hamstring 9 centimeters, nearly ruptured it fully, right? Everybody thought I was done. But for me, that just gave me proof that I was good enough to make it onto a team. So I looked at that not as a negative. It was a shame, but it was a positive for me. I was like, right, I have got what I believed I had in the first place. Following that year, I managed to make every single team, right? So we're going to build up to the bad part now. Always had to fight for my place. Always had to fight for get top three in the British Championships. There was no buy-ins for James. It was never right. Just run a time here and we'll select you. It was always I had to make sure I performed, which I think you should have to do, right? But the rules should be set for everybody, not just certain individuals. So the toughest moment for my athletics career was actually a road traffic accident, which some of you guys will probably already know about, where I had a head-on collision with a car. I was on the back of a bike on a training camp in Tenerife. I was a passenger, went to do a tourist visit to the volcano on the way back down, head-on collision, woke up on the floor. I had my legs were all over the place. My clothes looked like I'd been in an explosion. Um, I broke my I broke my pelvis. Christian's laughed because he knows. I said I woke up and I was naked on the floor. It was like I've been blown up, right? So I've gone from being in the greatest shape of my life the previous year, running sub 10 seconds for the 100 meters on a training camp, preparing for the 2017 World Championships in London, where it was going to be the home games. And that was going to that was my vision to really come out and do something special, to suddenly being splattered on the road, my legs broken, snapped in half, my pelvis is broken, cut to pieces, nearly dead. Um, yeah, ended up in ICU in Tenerife. So I was on these machines and all this crazy stuff, and a lot of my teammates were standing around looking at me, thinking, "Wow, what's going on? Your career's finished." Now this is genuine. This is how I thought. So they said to me, "There's a chance that may lose my leg, right?" And the way I kind of turned it into a positive, it was obviously a negative situation. Was I was like, well, if I if I lose my leg, then I'm going to be the fastest Paralympian in the world, right? And if I keep my leg, then I'll run again. That's what I believed, right? Christian's laughing again because he knows because I'm crazy, right? But that's what I believed. I was like, right, you know what? If I lose this leg, everybody's in trouble because I'm gonna be the guy, right? That's how I'm thinking. I'm turning it into a positive. And if I keep my leg, it's a win-win, right? Thankfully, I kept my leg, right? But now this is the building process. Now I've been through a crash. It could have been very easily for me to sit back, drown in my sorrows. Oh, this is the worst thing ever, blah, blah, blah. Get sympathy from everyone and quit. But I chose not to quit. I was in a wheelchair for 7 weeks. I was on crutches. I had people against me within my sport, believe it or not. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. I was a person that I always I'm very respectful to everybody, but I don't play the whole playing the game with people to be in a position, if you get what I mean. I'm very straight to the point, honest person, right? So the sport, having seen this crash now, they was like, right, James, he's done. It was even so bad that when I'd come back through all this crazy stuff, um, one of the race organizers. It was my first race since I'd crashed in 2019. He was like, "Look, we want you in the Diamond League. It'll be your first race back. We'd love to have you." Um, I was like, "Oh, this is great." But he said, "James, I need to tell you something. Somebody, I can't tell you who his name is, but somebody very high up in British athletics has asked me to not let you run." Now think about that, guys. Think how bad that is. Right? I had the whole public, the media, everybody was on my side. They saw this guy that had been smashed to pieces, had the courage to try and get up and make it back through a career-ending accident, and the same organization that I'd run for so many years and put my life into are telling them not to let me run. And the reason why that was is because they had written me off when I'd crashed, cut my funding, didn't want anything to do with me. So if I came back, it would look bad for them. So they was trying to not let me run at all costs, right? Anyway, long story short, after a very, very tough 2, 3 years of rehabilitation, things like that, I managed to make it back onto the track. I opened up my first season around 10.4 seconds, right? And this is where Life Plus helped me. I joined you guys and they've been looking out for me since my comeback and they supported me ever since. And they've been on the journey with me and they saw what I was doing, but I put so much work and hard work into just making the comeback. It was like once I was back on the track, I can't even lie, guys. I was going to these low level competitions because I hadn't run the fast time yet, and I just wasn't motivated anymore. The all the energy I'd used to get back into a position, it was burnt out, and I was used to being up here to suddenly competing here. So but saying that with a positive, you know the saying, aim high, miss low. I aimed so high that I was able to compete at an international level again and be fully functional and mobile. And that's all because of my mind. The way I geared my mind was not sit down. When the doctors were telling me, right, James, you need to be on crutches for 12 weeks, I was thinking, okay, cool. Within reason, I was doing extra stuff. I was walking with one leg to the station and it was hurting, but I was thinking, right, if I can put this work in now and go through this pain and get the bone to calcify with more pressure, it's going to be good for the long run. And because of the way I fought, it got me back. So I'd say that's probably the toughest time that I've ever had, probably throughout my life. Um, but I wouldn't change it. It was a test to my character. It made me give a real kind of look at myself to see how strong or how weak I was in different aspects. And yeah, I'm here and alive, and I can't say any bad words about it really. It's been a journey.
But James, if you don't mind, like, because I think, I mean, I know it is a long story and it was a long journey and stuff, but
Mm.
I think it's for me, it's like you have a gym, you have like so many things that you could share with
Thank
all of
you.
us because I mean, you were literally like fighting for your life, right? So it wasn't even that
Yeah,
you were fighting to stay in the sport, you were fighting ICU, helicopter. You did talk about being airlifted from the mountain to
yeah,
so
yeah,
um, there's a real depth to this that I mean, we probably don't have the time to get into, but I think
yeah.
again, just for the mental side of it, can you just talk about or because I'm always inspired by this. I mean, you did talk about how do you deal with setbacks? How do you deal with people that don't want to see you, but how do you find the motivation when
Rodney.
you just don't have, I don't know, like there's just these days where you just like, is this even worth
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the way I dealt with it, and I'd say this to everyone that's listening as well. I think I'm not proclaiming to be some mindset guru. I'm none of that. I'm just telling you my story. But the way I dealt with it personally was obviously I did have down days, right? But the way I looked around it was, well, I can't really do anything. So when I was in a wheelchair and I had a down day, I was like, well, what can I do? Okay, cool. I can't do much. I can do some bits. So there was videos you might have seen on social media. I managed to lift myself out of the wheelchair, done some press ups, right? I was like, right, I can do this. So that's it. That's a mini goal. I've done some press ups, great. Once I was out of the wheelchair and I was obviously on crutches, um, I used to just do what I could do. I never looked too far ahead because I think if you look too far ahead when you're in any bad situation and you're trying to get out of it, it can seem unrealistic, right? So when I first crashed, obviously I could only do one or two press ups. I was so weak. I'd lost like what 6 pints of blood during the accident as well. So I had to have a blood transfusion. I had I had loads of stuff going on with me, right? My pelvis is plated together, like ridiculous stuff. Um, so I was like, right, I just need to build, build, build. And it went from one press up to a week later doing five, six, seven. 2, 3 weeks later, I'm doing 20 press ups again. Then I'm on the pull up bar and I'm lifting myself out of the wheelchair, right? And I'm thinking, right, this is good. I'm doing some pull ups, getting to 5 pull ups. Then I'm getting to 10. And I'm thinking, right, okay, cool. Once the leg starts working, these are the things that kind of kept me motivated. I think achieving these little goals, mini goals along the way is what kind of kept me out of going into that bad down stage of feeling sorry for myself. And you got to remember, guys, as well, when everyone has their problems, everyone has their situation, but there's always somebody out there that's in a worse situation than you are. So I think you always got to count your blessings, thank God, and be grateful for whatever good stuff you have in your life, you know. When I was in a wheelchair, I looked around and thought, right, I've got people that love me. That's a blessing in itself. There's people out there that haven't got anyone that loves them, right? So I thought, rah, I can't feel sorry for myself. I've got somebody that loves me. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food in my cupboard. What have I got to complain about? You know? But yeah, it's easy to think about what you don't have. Think about what you do have.
Yeah, and also just on the back end of this, because I do want to talk about, like, we talk about Life Plus family, the community of Life Plus. I mean, can you also touch on the support group that help you? Because again, there's days that you probably need external motivation, right? So it's days you like, what am I doing? I mean, how did Life Plus, how did your support circle community help you get through this?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying, close friends and family. When you're in a, you see, there's no truer saying. You truly see who everyone is when you're in a bad situation. I found out firsthand who was who in that situation, and people that you would expect or you think that are really true to you. Some you think, huh, hold on, wow. So all along, like, what's going on here? Like suddenly, when I'm down and nearly dead, you want to finish me off, and then there's other people that you don't even expect that want to they do everything. Um, so again, out of a negative situation, it's a positive because through my situation, I've seen who's truly there for me and who wasn't there for me, right? Um, but Life Plus welcomed me to the family when I was kind of I wasn't back yet. I was coming back. So it's not like, oh, James, you're this high flying athlete that's currently running sub 10 seconds. We want to be part of us. No, no, no. They saw the struggle. They saw the kind of hopefully they saw my character. Hopefully, I'm guessing they did, and they saw actually, you know what, we're gonna get behind this guy because what he stands for and the way he's trying to accomplish this goal, we can kind of get behind that. And also with you guys, all you Life Plus associates, coming to the coming to the festivals and seeing you guys and the welcome you gave me and talking to you guys and mixing it up and seeing how kind of united everyone is within Life Plus it's a massive help, you know. I think it's a massive help and like I truly say like to everyone like you've got athletes out there that are part of nutrition companies or they're with brand sponsors or whoever it is, but it's just a business transaction. Whereas I mean, I think I can speak for Christian here. Like, we truly feel like we're part of the family and this it's one big community. So, yeah, it's helped me massively. Christian,
Okay.
going into Christian, sorry, I'm done with my talking about myself. Christian, so if you guys don't know, Christian was on top of his form, right? He had obviously got multiple world championships and Olympic games under his belt. And the last thing Christian had to achieve was the world record. If you don't know, he's not going to say because he's humble, but he's got the second furthest jump in history of all time. There's only one guy that's jumped further. He's a British guy called Jonathan Edwards. And I believe that had it not been for Christian's injury, he would have broken that world record without a shadow of a doubt. So Christian, how was it for you? Obviously achieving pretty much, well, you achieved everything in the sport and you had one thing left, which was a world record to achieve, and then aiming, I mean, on the road to achieving that world record, tearing your Achilles.
Yeah.
How did you feel through that?
Yeah. So thanks for highlighting biggest shortfall of my career. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so as you can imagine, I was just kind of checking the box throughout my career, things I wanted to achieve, go to the Olympics, make a final, go to World Championship. So there were things that I really went through throughout my career. I was very proud of, and to be able to travel, to be able to live abroad. I just felt like everything was on the right path. Of course, we all have hamstring issues, like the norm with pushing your body. But I was very, very lucky or fortunate or whatever word people want to use. Overall, I was always able to find a way to bounce back when a setback came. Um, but the greatest and the biggest one was rupturing my Achilles. And so I think it was Rodney who's in the chat that talked about tearing his bicep and coming back from this. Anybody that's had a rupture, anybody that's had a tear knows it's. I mean, you're starting from scratch, right? And so 2 months before going into my third Olympics, it was no longer about defending titles. It was no longer about competing with the best. I felt like I'd proven myself over the decade that I was the best in the world, and the only thing I needed to do to accomplish to really ride off in the sunset would have been the world record. That was the only thing. I was in the number two position in history. I wanted to be in that number one spot. And so I stopped thinking about Olympic Games and championships and was only pushing my body well beyond the limits to the point where it was either I break the world record or, um, yeah, the weakest link tears, right? And so at this point, everything was in the line. Training was going well. I felt like everything was at an all time high. And this was 2020. The pandemic hit. And so obviously this then altered a lot of the preparations because you can no longer go to the gym, I can no longer go to the track. A lot of the everyone's life changed, right? And so it was like, okay, how do you find a way to still overcome? How do you still reach your dreams when now the entire landscape has changed? The Olympic Games eventually was postponed, and then I thought, now I have an added year being on the healthy side to figure out how I could safely uh, dodge COVID, but also still prepare for the Olympic Games, but to break the world record at the Olympic Games.
Mm.
Um, a new date was set, and the Olympics were on the map. I said qualification, and I say this in the most humble way. Qualification was easy. That set. I need to break this world record in Tokyo. Um, And like I said, 2 months before the Olympic trials, my coach and I just pushed it too hard. And in one jump at the competition, um, it's a complete rupture. And at this moment, I think with adrenaline, with um, maybe my focus or my drive being so strong, I didn't even realize what happened. I just realized that I no longer could put weight on that leg. And I went to the doctor right at the track, and he just said, "I'm sorry, but it's over. Your Olympic dreams, your world record aspirations, it's gone." And it did register what he meant. I actually went to Leipzig. So all those in Germany, thank you for the great surgeons. I went to Leipzig, had my Achilles, fused back together, and I thought, hey, in 6 months I'm back on the journey, not
Mm.
realizing that I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to. I mean, let's not even talk about the confidence of taking the step, the confidence that it takes to walk upstairs, the confidence to drive, and I was not even. I was so used to striving and looking at high performance, I completely overlooked the things that you take for granted on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've seen people say this. I mean, Marie said this in the chat, right? When you crash, you see like who's for you. You realize what you who may you may lose along the way, but you also realize all the things that you took for granted that you will never take for granted again.
Mm.
And so and as James highlighted, regardless of what you're going through, there's somebody that is having it worse or has gone through something worse. And so, for me to have my incident, immediately I just thought, you know what? If James, I know James's story. If he can overcome complete pelvis, being destroyed, being blown up on the side of the road, what is an Achilles rupture? Right. I have a small area that I need to repair. James had an entire body, but I remember seeing the precepts. I remember, I mean, I make a joke, but in all seriousness, I remember when he was as skinny as me, right? This is something that James has always been stocky and let's say hench. And then
Mm.
he looked like me overnight, right? And I just thought, if he found a way to make it back, and he would just tell me, just focus on the small things, right? What can you do? What can you control? What little goals, stepping stones can you do along the way? Focus on that. Don't focus on the world record anymore.
Mm.
And that was the thing that actually another one of my mentors told me: small steps, big jumps. And I realized that if I just focus on the small things, I'll get back to the big jumps. So with all that being said, the journey was. day by day, week by week, and eventually, to say 16 months later, I was back at the international level, jumping and competing at the highest level. Um, I could say my appreciation. When you lose everything, your appreciation for the little things grows, drastically. So I found my love for competing again. As I spoke about, my focus was so much on being the best ever that I forgot actually the beauty of competing internationally, the beauty of competing with actually the rest, the best in the world, right? This was something that I was so long overlooked because I was just so set and focused on my goal that I actually lost feeling of what I was even doing. And so I think this was a bit of humility, a bit of grounding, and an opportunity that I could just kind of realign and reassess and never forget what this was about and the love of the sport. I think this obsession with the world record, let's say, broke me. But then I just said I was not going to let my career end like this, and actually for the next 3 years, because I retired in September, the next 3 years after the rupture were probably the most life changing, because I was no longer just competing for me. I was no longer chasing this measurement, this one number, but I just fell in love with. I found my love for how it all started, and that for me was turning this obstacle into something that I'm actually really grateful for. So believe it or not, I'm grateful for my injury because it gave me perspective.
Mm. No, it's so real, man. I mean, like you said, you're in a bubble, right? When you're flying high on top of the world, winning world championships, going to diamond leagues, it's you don't realize how delicate the balance is, and when something goes, and you realize, oh wow, man, suddenly everything just changes, right? Um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of mine and Christian's stories. They're probably both our toughest times within the sport. But what we'd like to do is open the floor to you guys for any questions. I think I only speak for myself here. You can ask me anything. When I say anything, remember I'm straight down the line. Yeah, ask me anything. Obviously within sport, coming back, all the rest of it. But I will answer any question. Like I like to. I always kind of pose this question to people, and I get the same questions. But ask me anything, and I won't speak for Christian next. He might not want to be asked anything. But yeah, if you guys want to ask us anything, if you've got any kind of I don't know any things that you want to overcome, any tips, anything that you're interested in within athletics, yeah, ask away. We can see your kind of your chats in the chat box. So yeah, does anyone want to fire a question? We'll
I
give
could
you that.
I could just say from an inspiration side, man, Rodney Lemmers, man, he's dropping some quotes in here, some
You
inspiration quotes.
so you met Rodney, have you?
No, no.
You'll meet him soon.
Okay.
Rodney likes to compete with me, man. We're gonna go for some pull-ups, Rodney, when I see you again.
Yeah, he's on it, man.
All right. Right, this is from Hayaki.
Yeah.
What kind of training did you do, James, to fight you back? Um, well, yeah, I would say, right, cool. One second. Hold the questions for 1 second, guys. I'm gonna get through this. So I would say training wise, well, the first thing I could only do was stuff in the pool. So I was doing aqua jogging on a treadmill in the pool because I couldn't support myself. I couldn't walk. Um, that then went on to doing some kind of machine exercises, low resistance, just for the lower body, the legs, because my leg was broken as well. My tib and fib snapped. Um, and then I was back in the gym. There's a guy called Mike Burt. If you look him up, guys, if you ever want to, seriously, if you guys want a serious online S&C coach, right? Mike Burt is, I'd say he's one of the main people that got me back to where I was. His S&C program is second to none. So meticulously, I was in the gym with him, and we was doing single leg stuff with no weight to the point where I had 150 kilos back on my back, and I was deep squatting, repping 150 kilos ass to the floor. Um, so yeah, it was mainly gym stuff that built me back. A lot of mobility, a lot of stretching, a lot of massage. I had a lot of scar tissue. His name's Mike Burt, Mikeburt. He's on my Instagram as well, if you look for him. But he's a great trainer. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the training, the main training that I did to get me back. Another question I saw was from Roland. What about your feelings during the night? I mean, it depends what feelings, you know. But what I think you're asking is how did I cope with my mind during the nighttime and get over that stuff? That's a very good question. Um, I would say because your mind does play tricks on you and your mind, what if and if I didn't do this and I wish I didn't get on the bike and blah 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 blah. You replay stuff over and over again in your head, right? Um, and it's very easier said than done to just blank out your thoughts. I think that's probably the hardest thing for any of us to do is to just stop thinking, right? Um, so for me, I always used to just refer back to what I said earlier. I'm grateful that I've got a lovely family. I'm grateful that I've got a house. I'm grateful that I've got food in the cupboard. I'm grateful that I'm alive. You know, that I would try and distract myself, not from thinking about what would I have ran if I didn't get run over, or do you know what I'm saying? I used to just focus on all the good things, you know, and then I'll be looking forward to the next day. All right, cool. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go to the track. I'm gonna do an easy jog, and I'm gonna see people. So that was how I kind of uh, got through the night. Some other questions Christian can answer. Let's have a look. What
Yeah,
are the
the next one is
supplements?
for supplements.
Yeah, go on.
So
Would you?
yeah, I just jump on this. I mean, I'm I really love caffeine. I really love, especially, I'm just a high energy person, and so I'm a big fan of Focus. That's like my pre-workout. But to be honest, sometimes that's just kind of my like, if I need something, just get my day started. Focus. Daily Bio. I found that at the beginning, I was so excited with all the Life Plus supplements that I was like, I'm just gonna try a lot of things. But I can say for convenience, the Daily Bio, highly recommend. And then also, I would say I think both of us we would probably talk on just like the refueled, right? So
Mm,
yeah, simple protein, but for me, it's just like a light protein, which is just really helpful because when you have all kind of like James and I can tell you about all the different things we've tried throughout our career. Some proteins could just be so heavy, and chunky and difficult to mix, and you can't mix it with anything. You just want to like chug it. It's just nice to finally have something that's like tastes good and it's light. And so yeah, those are the three things that I can really say that really get me like on a daily.
cool. Felix, how long aqua jogging before normal training? I'm in 2 weeks after I broke my foot. Thanks for the motivation. Thanks for the question, Felix. I was aqua jogging for probably about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So yeah, a good while, and then moving on to other things. Next questions. Let's have a look. Getting better for Rodney. Rodney, how did you guys cope with setbacks during recovery? I mean, how did I cope with setbacks during recovery? To be honest, like if I'm being honest, I didn't really have too many setbacks during my recovery. I think I was so smashed to pieces, I couldn't really get any worse. Um, so yeah, I mean, literally every week, even if I didn't do anything for a week, I'd be in a better position because I was so bad. My default was bottom of the barrel. Um, but yeah, again, I'd probably just refer back to this is a process, you know. If you make a couple steps forward and a slight step backwards, it's part of the process. You're not gonna just it's not gonna be plain sailing, right? Did you guys also special breath work or yoga? Did you do any breath work or yoga, Christian?
Uh, the thing is, I should have done yoga. I actually think this would have extended my career also. But breathing, I'd say I do more meditation than breath work. Um, so I did a ton of visualization throughout my career, throughout my training, throughout for sure competitions. Uh, but I do, let's say, I respect and understand that there are significant benefits with breathwork exercises, and um, I just think there's, I don't want to say an untapped market, but an untapped potential when people actually look beyond the standard, let's say SSC, right, strength condition or the traditional training, but when they actually get in tune with their bodies, I believe we use such a limited amount of our body's potential. Let's not even talk about our brain's potential. And I believe that if you are willing to go deeper and understand actually how amazing our body is, I believe you can discover just so much, this a different dimension that you really have potential to reach.
So, Cheryl Taylor, how did you deal with the negative people you talked about? Um, I'm guessing that's for me. Um, I just left them, man. I just left the negative people. I think, yeah, I just kind of cut off any negative people. I just took myself away from them. Some of them it was hard as well because they're people that I'd known for many years and people that I'd loved. Um, other friends as well, friends that kind of you realize actually the whole time that you've been going through your career or doing what you're doing and they're beside you, they might be envious of you. You never know. And you take these people on a journey with you and you're good to them, and then suddenly when you're at your lowest, they're trying to finish you off, or it's crazy. Like you hear this stuff from other people, you never think it's going to be from yourself, and you never think you're going to experience it yourself, right? But yeah, it's like wow, like I can't believe this. What's going on? Like this is crazy. Like one of my old coaches from back in the day who I left because I'd moved on with my career. He found out that he was talking rubbish about me. I had people trying to write newspaper articles about me saying that my crash was a hoax for me to get money. Like it was real bad. And I realized how many people because up until that point I'm so open. The kind of person I am, everyone can be around me. I'm an open person. Christian knows. And I always had friends that used to tell me, listen, James, you're too nice to some people. You need to be careful with people around you. And I'd be like, no, he's cool, man. She's cool, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no, some of these people are bad people, man. And I couldn't believe it because that's not how I would ever be. So yeah, I just took a step away from all these people. Took a step away. I like to live in peace, man. I like to live in peace. So yeah. How did people think about you, think? Okay, cool. So what's this question?
Yeah,
Um, How did people think about you taking LP products and LP helping you during recovery and also during training? Both of us. Christian, you want to answer this one first?
yeah. So for me, I mean, it's I didn't realize like this life plus effect, but how I discovered life plus was through James. So I just saw James posting about life plus all the time, and I was like, what is this guy talking about? But then obviously intrigued, like, because I just figured if he's posting so much about it, it must be legit. So I asked him about it, and he was like, try it. All right, cool. Let's see. It's another supplement company, another thing in the market. Like this, and the thing is, he's like, Christian, beyond the supplement, it's the people, it's the community. Like this is actually and that's why I always say life plus family, because for me, it's not a company, it's genuinely a family. Um, and and for me, this is, I know maybe this is probably not the thing I should be highlighting, but for me, this is the greatest thing about Life Plus. It's the sense of community. And I feel like, especially in COVID times, and especially in times where social distancing and like being separated, being apart was pushed on media and through medicine and everything. Like I felt like Life Plus went the opposite direction. They were like, no, we were meant and designed to be together, to do life together, to overcome together. And I say all this to say that supplements is, of course, the the maybe the core of the company, but in all actuality, I see Life Plus as a community. I see it as a network, as a place where people come together, like-minded people that are thinking, how can we better our life? How can we help uh, the next person live a healthier life, a longer life, a happier life? Um, and if that involves supplements, that's one thing. But if it's just encouraging somebody, having conversations like this, having galas and festivals and opportunities to just come together with people that are seeking to be together, but also seeking to I don't know, just live high quality lives. I think this for me is the power of Life Plus. And so I took all this from James and from my own experience, and now when I'm taking my products, whether with training or people see me putting it with my yogurt, obviously people are intrigued. What did you just put? You put soulless milk in your yogurt. Like, what is that? And I said, yeah, this is a nice product, the golden milk, right? I say this is a nice product, but more than the product, the people behind Life Plus, like this is what I like to share,
Yeah.
because I believe you all are the difference.
I agree, man. I think some of the people I've met in like through Life Plus, who work for the company, the associates, like I've just told you guys. I mean, if I told you my life story, you wouldn't believe it. But people that I've met for the first time at Life Plus, have been more kind and nice to me than I've had people around me my whole life. So for me, like it's always kind of more the family thing. It's great to be part of a good company and good supplements and products and all the rest of it. But for me, it's always about the people, man. Um, yeah. So any kind of opportunity I get in my life now to embrace good people, I take it with both hands because the amount of bad people that I've come across throughout my life is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I would say, I mean, one of the last things we could do before we wrap up the hour, I mean, let's say the nutrition during training periods and off. Does it differ for you?
Say it again, sorry.
The nutrition in the training blocks versus maybe let's say an off season.
Yeah, I mean, say it one more time, sorry. I think you broke up.
Yeah. So does your diet change? Does your nutrition change during a training block or in season versus off season?
Mm, I mean, yeah, I think I eat a lot more when I'm training on season. Um, I think, what, I've kind of got a balanced diet and I've kind of integrated my supplements into my diet as part of my diet as well. So I'm pretty much always the same. Like I always take all the vitamin D and K supplements. I take the daily, obviously use the protein a lot. Omega-3 fish oils, MSM, they're my kind of go-tos. And that whether I was in training for season or off all year round. Um, and my diet's pretty much the same. The only difference with my diet is when I'm training a lot harder, obviously I'm consuming a lot more calories, so I have to eat more, which is more expensive, right? But other than that, no, man, my diet stays pretty consistent. So balance is the key to life. I think that's a good way to end it, right? Balance, everybody. So yeah, Christian, it's been wonderful. Guys, I'd like to thank all of you guys from the bottom of my heart for attending and sitting this one out with us. Hopefully, there's maybe some insightful things that you could have taken from this conversation. Um, and I just think, yeah, I think we all go through some stuff, but a problem shared is a problem halved. So, thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon as possible.
Thank you all. Look forward to seeing you. See you soon. Be well. Good health. General Robbins. And yeah, goodbye for now.
All right, guys, take it easy. We see the messages. We see the messages. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Marika,
Thank you. Thank you.
Chiara, Stefan, we see you.
Everyone,
Rosemary, Annette, we see all of you. Rodney, Anja, Iris, Gabrielle, Florence, Biggie, Paul. Elfie, Frank, Lowe's, Claudia, Marion, Claudia, Isabel. Get me? Credits, Roland, Heike, Elfie. We see you all, man. Thanks for having us, and we'll
Thank you.
see you
Thank
guys
you.
soon.